Kepler 1647's moon, 2763 AD. Rise and shine. You're not going to miss my big day, are you? My dad opened up the blinds and the sun flooded in. When I came to my senses, I realized what day it was. I had been dreading this day for months. Please don't go, Dad. Ask him to send someone else, I pleaded. I couldn't bear the thought of missing my dad for 8 years. He picked me up and cradled me. Stella, you know why I have to go. I made a pouty face. I had heard the excuse too many times before. Because you're the only one experienced enough to go. Our entire colony depends on this trip, honey. Plus, think of how cool you'll be at school. You'll be the only one who has a dad that went to Earth. My worries were only slightly calmed. While my dad's trip would be cool to talk about, I know that the other kids at school don't worry about their dad like I do. They talk about getting the latest low-orbit jump packs while I stress about my dad. He had taken short trips to other planets before, but none of those trips ever required light speed. Even worse, we had recently learned about time dilation in class. Apparently, time travels slower for people going the speed of light. If my dad flew close to another planet, or had to stop at all, the gravity might cost him years. I've got something to show you, he said, breaking my train of thought. He carried me up our circular staircase and set me down. You were too young to remember, but your grandpa, my dad, was an astronaut too. Really? I asked. Yep, and not just any astronaut. He went to Earth twice. My dad began opening the attic. 2 trips! Wow, I exclaimed. But then I doubted. I thought the colony only has that opportunity every 40 years. He climbed up the ladder. Talking to me from the attic, he replied, Every few centuries, there are an extra 2 openings. Your grandpa was lucky enough to go twice. The colony could always use extra supplies of water. My dad started pulling at the box of the attic. We must have missed him a ton. With the box in hand, my dad climbed down and closed the attic. He stopped and contemplated. Yes, I missed him very much, but I knew why he had to go. My dad led me downstairs, where we sat on the couch. He opened the lid. First, he pulled a small, shiny silver disc. Next, a glass white sphere-shaped object with a screw at the end. Last, a cane-looking item that had purple fabric around the sides and focused into a point. I had never seen anything like them. What are they, Dad? When I was a boy, my dad gave me these objects he brought back from Earth. The first object is called a coin. I laughed. That's a funny word to say. Coin. 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 I repeated out loud, each time the word sounding more silly. He smiled. On Earth, they used physical money as currency instead of credits. He picked up the coin and spun it on the table. It spun around until it finally stopped, and the head of a person engraved on the coin looked back at me. He continued, According to Gramps, the coin also had another use. People would use this to make important decisions. Heads and tails, they called it. They would let the coin make the decision for them. That's absurd. I spun the coin for myself. Heads again. He laughed. Maybe, but I can't deny using that coin when I was a boy. I spun the coin one last time. What's next? He picked up the white object. This is a light bulb. This might be a little bit harder to explain because we have no use for it here. He grabbed a small stand from the box and began screwing the light bulb into it. Suddenly, the object lit up. I was underwhelmed. Why would you ever need extra light? I asked. Well, in Earth's solar system, there's only one sun. 12 hours of the day are spent in darkness. They call it night. We never need light bulbs because our 2 suns give us light. All of our houses and buildings are engineered to let light in. I was shocked. I couldn't imagine relying on this small object to see. It was a scary thought. You better take that with you, Dad. There'll be plenty of lights on Earth for me to use, sweetie. Oh good. Relieved. I stopped to think about Earth at night would be like. You can go outside without sunglasses, I blurted. My dad smiled at me. Yes, I guess I can. I never thought about that. I picked up the last object. Last but not least, the umbrella. He grabbed the umbrella by the curved cane part and pushed his other hand up near the bottom. It expanded out into a large webbed circle. It looks like our solar panels. Does it capture light? Good try. I remember this being the hardest object to understand. He handed me the umbrella. On Earth, water falls from the sky. So much water falls that people will use this to stay dry. Suddenly it made sense. I was speechless. I always knew Earth had water, but I never understood why the people on Earth would give it up. It's like sand to them, isn't it? Yes, that's one way of looking at it. How could they be so wasteful? I felt sick thinking about it. There's such an immense amount of water. Why anyone want to stay dry is ridiculous. It's not wasteful on Earth, Stella. That's just how they live. I put the umbrella down in disgust.
Breakfast is served,
said our Amazon Alexa. It hovered over and brought us our food. Next thing I knew, we were driving to the launch platform with my aunt, who would be taking care of me. As we approached, I saw the familiar sight of the SpaceX rocket. Its name was Ad Astra, which meant to the stars, as my dad had told me. The next few hours were similar to the many other missions my dad had been on. When we arrived, he was whisked away by the scientists, and I was taken up to mission control. It was organized chaos as normal, but everyone still found time to greet me with hugs and support. I was a familiar face around here. I went to sit by Carlos's control board, who always had Legos lying around the station. "He's going to be fine, Stella," he said, after seeing my worried expression. "He's got the best scientists and doctors on our moon taking care of him." "I'm going to miss him," I replied. Mission control was a place that normally filled me with excitement, but today I felt dread. T-minus 9 minutes and counting, called a voice over the loudspeaker. Everyone took their seats. Carlos always had an extra headset for me. I grabbed it and put it on. I could hear my dad talking, and his image popped up on a large screen in front of Mission Control. He wore a different suit from the ones before. It was more sleek, and I assumed it was for light speed. "This is Ad Astra to Mission Control, starting automatic ground launcher sequence." Another voice in the headset. I knew it was Jamis, the Mission Control Director. "Give me a go, no go. Flight?" I heard my dad's voice again. "Go. Mod? Go. Capcom, go flight." Everyone around me started to sound off. "Booster, we're go. Control, go. FAO, go flight. Econ, go. Network, we are go. Kepler to Ad Astra, you are go for launch." Copy that, initiating launch sequence. T-minus 30 seconds to launch. Then there was a pause in the radio chatter. Then suddenly, my dad. "This is Ad Astra to Stella. Do you copy?" I was taken aback. I looked to my left and right, and all eyes were on me. I clicked my radio button, something that I always dreamed of doing. Dad? This is Stella to Ad Astra," I stammered. I felt a ball forming in my throat. My eyes were starting to water. "Hey, sweetie, how you holding up?" "I'm doing all right," I said, determined not to cry in front of everyone. "I love you a lot." "I love you too, Dad. I'm gonna miss you." Time seemed to stand still. Even the speed of light couldn't take this moment away. "I'll miss you more. Are you sure you don't want to stay?" I could feel the tears streaming down my face. He ignored the question and said, "Look, Stella, I want you to remember something that your grandpa told me. Can you do that for me?" Okay, Dad," I barely managed to get out there. "The first step towards getting somewhere is to decide that you're not going to stay where you are." I didn't even have time to ponder what he meant. "This is Mission Control to Ad Astra. T-minus 10 seconds to launch. 9, 8, 7, I sobbed. 6, 5, main engine ignition. Through my tears, I could see the rockets light up with fire and smoke. 3, 2, 1, liftoff. Still, as I board the ship to leave our dry planet, I think about the last day I ever saw my father. A part of me wants to stay, to wait for him to come back, but I remember his words. Children aboard the ship cry to their mothers begging for water. There was nothing left for me here. Somehow his final words. My father knew he wouldn't come back. He was never very good at staying in one place anyway.